All right, we're now in the basement of 600 South Main Street, Elmira, New York, a place that's known as the Sandbar. This business is a nightclub. It's been closed since March of 2020 when COVID hit. What we're going to do today is we're going to simulate and test the amount of electric draw that we used in September of this year when we ran the commercial equipment in the building for a 3 or 4 hour period. We want to determine what the hourly demand rate of that running was. Now over here you see the Nyseg meter here. This is a commercial electric meter, and just to the right you will see the main breaker box. This property was shut down and closed for about 10 years. When it was the high bar in 2007, I was foreclosed, and this is the main breaker box. After the foreclosure, the bank shut all of the breakers off, and there was no electric usage until we bought the property in 2016. And the electric usage stayed approximately next to nothing until we got a certificate of occupancy in 2018. And after 2018, the monthly kilowatt usage increased somewhat to about 500 roughly kilowatts per month, which is less than the average residence. Now what we're going to do, so we'll take a walk upstairs and show you the equipment, and then we're going to test the draw of the equipment by seeing how much time it takes for all the equipment running at one time to draw 1 kilowatt electric usage by videotaping this meter. So let's go around here. Now, Nyseg standard for demand customers is they have to trigger on a consistent or semi-consistent basis more than 5 kilowatts of electric usage in a 30-minute period of time. And we contend that we're nowhere near that level, and we're going to prove it with this videotape. So the first piece of equipment that we were running in September was the keg room. And the keg room consists of a condenser unit and this 220 volt refrigeration compressor. So first we're going to start the condenser unit. You may be able to hear that running in the background. We'll go upstairs and show it to you. And here we're in the keg room, and you can hear and see clearly that the condenser unit is running. This room is not in use. We don't use it. It's used for storage, musical instruments, so on and so forth. Lock up the register. We don't use it basically because there's not enough, we didn't have enough people drinking keg beer when we opened the property to consume the kegs fast enough that they were not getting stale, so we shut it off altogether and just used bottled beer for customers. There's a second room here, which is a walk-in freezer. It's not in use. As you can see, this is my girlfriend's equipment. She uses it as, or her clothing, she uses it as a storage locker. There's the old high bar, deep fat fryers and so on and so forth. So this is not in use. The other piece of equipment we used here is a stand-up freezer. And we're going to turn that on so that it adds to the overall draw for the purposes of this demonstration. You can hear it turning. The kitchen hood system is not in use. We're not a restaurant. We don't serve food. It's not certified to be a restaurant at the present time. It's certified to be a bar only. So we'll go back downstairs. And we're going to turn on the 220 volt refrigeration compressor for the keg room. And you can hear it's turning on now. Now this is going to be running at maximum draw since the keg room basically is at room temperature. If in fact we're actually using it once the keg room cooled down to room temperature, once the keg room cooled down to the proper temperature for beer and so on and so forth, it would only run intermittently and draw less than half of what it's drawing now, running continuously. So the last piece of equipment that we used in September was the ice machine, and we'll turn the ice machine on now. And it'll take a minute for the ice machine to come on. We'll just sit here and wait until it comes on. There it goes. Now we're currently running all the commercial equipment in the building that we've ever used at maximum draw. And what we are going to do is we are going to videotape the meter, and we're going to watch until the meter number trips over, and then time it and see how long it takes to utilize 1 kilowatt of electricity. It's currently reading 35,497. So when that hits 35,498, we're going to start a timer, and we're going to wait and see how long it takes to use 1 kilowatt, which would be 1 kilowatt above what was before. $35,497. When it hits 35,498, we're going to start the timer and see how long it takes to hit 35,499, which would be 1 kilowatt of usage. Now, if it takes more than 6 minutes to do that, it means that this energy consumption is less than Nyseg's demand, so-called demand meter rate of 5 kilowatts per 30-minute period. So the math is basically pretty simple. There's 5 6-minute periods in 30 minutes, and if 1 kilowatt of electricity is used in 6 minutes or less, it's going to trip the 5 kilowatt usage limit over a 30-minute period. Just going to move this camera for a minute to make sure we've got a correct view going. Okay, that's okay. We ran this once before, test once before, and unfortunately the camera was showing vertically instead of horizontally, and it was difficult to read the meter, so we're going to have to redo the whole test all over again. The waiting part is waiting for this to trip over to 35.98. We don't know where in the middle of that kilowatt hour we started. If it was right in the beginning when we started the video, it may take a while to hit the 35.498 number, and we just have to sit here and wait until it does that, and then we'll start timing. Now, for those of you who don't know what a demand metering system is, it's designed as a penalty for commercial businesses that use a lot of electricity during peak consumption times, and it's designed to make people that are imposing a burden on Nyseg's ability to deliver electricity pay more, so that they'll use less, so that they'll try to conserve more. It generally applies to commercial businesses such as Pudgy's Pizza, Aldi's, so on and so forth. People that are running some kind of a full-time business with a lot of commercial equipment running all at once. And it's designed to make those people try to cut back. Here we've got a residential situation at the present time. The business isn't open. It hasn't been open for over a year. We use LED lights. The only electrical equipment we use is a from time to time is the stand-up freezer. We've also got a basic little space heater. And that's it. LED lights, $35 space heater, and a refrigerator. And yet Nyseg continues to bill us as a demand customer. It's totally arbitrary, discriminatory, and illegal. And we're going to prove that today with this video. We're going to prove that this meter is reading kilowatt hours, maximum kilowatt hours per hour, not per 30 minutes. And you'll be able to see that in the overall result. Now, if you see here at 3.74, that's the maximum kilowatt hours. That's the maximum kilowatts we've used in a single hour since the meter was reset in response to this initial complaint several weeks ago. So Nyseg is doing two things wrong. They're believing that that is 3.74 per 30 minutes when it's 3.74 per hour. Now, prior to Nyseg coming by and resetting the meter, it showed 5.47 as the maximum kilowatt usage. But that's in a single hour. And based on this test and the test that we previously run, our maximum kilowatt usage is approximately 3.5 kilowatts per hour, running all of the commercial equipment in the building at one time. So when that meter read 5.47, what it means is that they've never reset it, ever, since the time of the foreclosure in 2007. Because we can't draw that much electricity with the equipment we presently have in the building. Essentially, they're not resetting the meter specifically for the purpose of trying to create a demand billing for this location. They also don't understand the meter because the meter reads 5.4, reads maximum per kilowatt hour, not per kilowatt 30 minutes. And you'll be able to see this as soon as we finish with this test. We just have to sit here and wait until 497 turns into 498 to start the timer, and then it's going to be a very simple process to calculate the hourly demand of this property running all of its commercial equipment. Unfortunately, we've just got to stay here until it goes to 9/8, because we've got to hit that timer on the mark when it hits the 9/8 button. See, 35497. We just got to wait until that turns to 35498 and then start timing. And with the interval we're going to time is from 35498 until it turns again to 35499. That will be 1 kilowatt usage of hour, 1 kilowatt usage of electricity. And then we'll translate that into an hourly maximum consumption based on the number of minutes it takes to use a kilowatt hour of electricity. And we're going to use a stopwatch for this purpose, but you can do the same thing by just watching the timer on the bottom of the video. The video itself will show when the meter trips and the time when the meter, well, not when the meter trips, but when the number changes over to a new kilowatt hour, and then after that, when the number changes again, and that's the period we're looking for. For those of you who may be watching this video and have a Nyseg service, you'll notice that if you have a meter inside of your property such as this, and maybe even if you don't have a meter inside of your property, the Nyseg hasn't come by to read your meter since COVID hit. That's true here, and I believe that's going to be true in a lot of other properties too as well. They have not read the meter. And yet, when you look at your new bill that they're now sending out, you'll see that that they've been charging you supply charges for the all through the COVID period. What the supply charge is it's the charge to read your meter, for people to actually come out to your location, read your meter, and send out regular billing statements. They haven't been doing that, and yet they are still charging you the supply charge as normal. So they are charging you for services that they have never delivered or provided to your location. It is regular billing and regular reading of the meters. That's your supply charge. If you hear in the background, the ice machine just dropped some ice. That's the big clunk you hear. You hear it in the background if you can hear it. There we go, 98. So we started the stopwatch running. We're going to time it until it hits 99, and then we'll see how long that takes. All right, we're approaching the 6-minute mark right now. Just hit 6 minutes. So if that meter is still on 9.8, it means we have not tripped the demand standard of 5 kilowatt hours of usage. There, see, it's still on 9.8. So 6 minutes have gone by and a kilowatt of usage has not been made yet, because a kilowatt will show when the meter changes to 9.9. Then we know that a kilowatt has been used. It's been 6 minutes, it's still on 9.8. The math is basically simple. What do we need 5 kilowatts in 30 minutes? We divide 5 into 30. It means we use a kilowatt every 6 minutes. So we've already proved or debunked Nyseg's claim that this property uses more 5 kilowatts of electric usage in a 30-minute period of time or greater, since all of the property has been running at maximum draw now, and more than 6 minutes have passed and we haven't triggered the 1 kilowatt standard. So generally speaking, when these compressors, these refrigeration compressors are running, they'll reach their temperature, which is the beer temperature of 34 degrees. Once that happens, the keg room will only run intermittently, and it'll use less than a third of what it uses now, trying to get down to temperature. The same applies to the refrigerator and the ice machine. Once the ice machine is full up to its level with ice, it will only run intermittently and occasionally. Right now, all this commercial property is running all at one time, as well as the lights in the building. Okay. A word about demand metering. So we proved we haven't hit the demand meter standard, but that's not even the issue, really. The issue is whether a property on a relatively consistent and frequent basis triggers the so-called demand standard, which is 10 kilowatts of usage or greater in an hour, or 5 kilowatts of usage or greater in a half an hour. The purpose of the demand standard is not to penalize a property owner that might run on a rare occasion a bunch of equipment at one time and hit a peak usage. The purpose of the demand standard, for it to be a rationally related to a legitimate purpose of the New York State Electric and Gas Company, is to penalize businesses that consistently hit the demand rate during peak hours, causing Nyseg additional expense and inconvenience. Applying that to a closed business or any other business that only occasionally hits the demand standard is self-serving, arbitrary, and unreasonable. And the case law is pretty well established, and the public service law is pretty well established that actions of a public utility company like Nyseg have to be rationally related to a legitimate purpose. Their purpose in demand metering certain properties is arbitrary, discriminatory, and only self-serving to get as much as they possibly can out of a particular owner and a particular property. We now hit 10 minutes and the meter is still on 9.8, which means we've used less than a kilowatt in 10 minutes. Remember, to be a demand customer, we've got to use more than a kilowatt in 6 minutes. All right, we've passed 14 minutes, approaching 14 and a half minutes now. We're still on 498, which means we're using less than half of Nyseg's so-called demand rate, 5 kilowatts per half hour. That's with everything, commercial equipment in the building running at maximum draw, meaning everything is starting from cold, running continuously. Remember, once these refrigeration systems have reached operating temperature, they're only going to be using less than half, maybe a third or a quarter of what we're doing right now, because it takes energy to cool things down to operating temperature, but a lot less energy to keep them at operating temperature. It's 16 minutes, we're still on 9.8. There is absolutely no basis for Nyseg's claim that we are a demand electricity customer. Back in the days when after the foreclosure of the former high bar, all these meters over here, all these breaker boxes were shut off. But we may have just hit the 9.9. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Okay, 16 minutes. Make sure that's on 9.9. Yep, it took 16 minutes to use 1 kilowatt of electricity. You do the math, that's approximately 3.6 kilowatt hour maximum usage in an hour, approximately 1/3 of the so-called demand standard. Well, thank you for watching. This certainly has proved our point.